Sorry, is this in your way? No. You can lay down. Lay down. Lay down. There's my girl. I can actually see everybody's fucking chats whenever everybody shows up. Very good. Okay, there we go. Hi. I love you. I do. You're a good girl. This, well, no, they can't really see you because you're fucking dark as shit. Yeah, you're dark as hell, Mocha, so in the darkness, nobody can see you. Yeah, definitely much better now that we have that. We can just angle that and we can just relax and read. Yeah. But no, don't do that. Alrighty then, we're just waiting for people to show up and then we'll begin our reading today. Because that's what we're doing tonight. Let's see. Get ourselves comfortable as we can be, to be ready to read books to everybody tonight. No, to anybody tonight. Let's see. I'll see if anybody shows up, right? Haha. Hello. Welcome. I'm just waiting for a few people to get here. And we'll get started on reading this, The Dragons. Well, hello. How are you? Welcome to the stream. We're doing a nighttime reading stream where we're going to be reading this book, one of my favorite books, The Dragons from Dragonlance. And hello. How are you? Hello, William, and hello, Sarah. I'm living in my car. We call it aggressive camping. I'm glad that you're doing good. I'm doing pretty awesome, you know. I got a car, I got my car, I got my dog, and I found out that I just got a job. And with that, we are able to, well, continue to move forward soon. Oh, hi. What's up, Yang? How are you? Appreciate you being here. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Well, there are enough people here today, and I think I am going to just do one thing real quickly, and then we'll get on in to our reading today, because today we're going to be reading The Dragons from Dragonlance. Well, you're always welcome to ask your question to me, for I am Faja, a streamer and content creator, as well as now security guard. So I appreciate you asking me, Faja, any questions. But if I don't see it, that more than likely means that my comment filter caught it, and it has something to do with something that I probably not even going to bother answering. Alrighty then, everybody. Hey, what's up, Loki? I've been holding up pretty good. We got a job today, and that was a good step forward. Mocha's getting a little more comfortable with living in our car, living. I got a vacuum today. Um, we did some door dashing today. We got a P.O. box. We got a lot of other things set up and all of that. Uh, no. Simply because it's about love. So marry whoever the fuck you want to marry, as long as you love them. Anything else? Really? What the fuck else does there matter to it? Marriage is about actually supposed to be, to me, about being in love. Though most people might not agree with me, but that's what it should be. So if you love them, marry them. It doesn't matter what race, culture, blah blah, any kind of stupid ass bullshit you want to shove down somebody's throat. And I appreciate that, Loki. Because do you want to know what marriage is an institution of? Marriage is an institution that was created during Roman times specifically for soldiers. If you want to go with, oh, what marriage actually fucking means kind of bullshit, And also, it also stands to reason that if you're so weak in constitution that what somebody else loves bothers you to a point where you feel like you have to do something about it, well, it's not the world's fault that you're weak. To anybody who thinks that way, at the very least. Now then. Either way, we're here for a book reading. I appreciate your question, Senpai, and I appreciate? That's not a word. I appreciate you asking in earnest and listening to what I have to say. Now then, let us begin our reading, shall we, my friends? Today we are reading The Dragons from a Dragonlance Saga, The Lost Histories, Volume 4. Written by Douglas Niles. Yes. Before we begin, there are some words in the very first page. Are you starting from the start of the book? We are starting from the very start of the book, from the very beginning, my friends. And from the very first page, it reads, "Welcome, my wormlings, my children," came the whispered, rasping voice emerging from the scarlet jaws. "It pleases me to see you kill, to learn the rapture of bloodletting and the terrible lethal might." A green head beside the mighty red lowered, eyes blinking lazily as it regarded an emerald-colored wormling. The newt, Cramitia. Cramitia, sorry, I said the name wrong. Cramitia. The newt Cramitia had mangled in pursuit of her prey. "Weakness will not be tolerated." The words dripped like venom from the crimson jaws while the green dragon head licked forward, the tongue hissing a soft sound. Immediately, the crippled wormling uttered a yelp of pain, thrashing through a circle as its jaws snapped and claws swiped as an unseen enemy. Abruptly it froze, trembling, the tiny mouth gaping, soundless, frothing with bubbles. The little dragon shrieked for a long moment until it vanished in an explosive shower of scales, flesh, and bone. What are we reading? We are reading The Dragons, a Dragonlance saga, the Lost Histories, Volume 4. I believe that's Volume 4 and not 6. Where was I? Mercy is weakness, and weakness is death, hiss the head of the Dark Queen. That is simply the intro page. And this is The Dragons, written by Douglas Niles. This is one of my favorite books of all time, just so y'all know. Now then, the prologue, Fiery Beginnings, circa 8500 PC. Crematia awoken to yearning, an awareness of a deep and fundamental need. She twitched, driven by knowledge that she lacked something essential to her comfort, even her life. Slowly, over a measureless span of time, that longing coalesced into a specific desire: fire. Compelling but terribly distant, a blaze of heat called from somewhere beyond her tightly restrictive universe. Seductive and alluring, powerfully radiant. The sensation tantalized her until she knew without understanding that she had been summoned. She reacted by pure instinct, driven by an urge ingrained into every fiber of her being, lashing out in sudden anger. Crematia pushed and struck the resistance barrier. Sorry. Oh, there was a little bit of a bump here. Crematia pushed and struck the resistant barrier of her world. Initial frustration only increased her desperation. She stiffened her neck, straining mightily toward the drawn of magnificent warmth. But still, that radiance was masked by her enveloping barrier. With growing agitation, she pushed and prodded, squirming and flexing her supple body, then recoiling as the constraints of her universe pressed her back. And in that frustration, Crematia flexed, straightening her long neck, driving against the pernicious barrier. The front of her head was a sharp beak, and when she pressed this hooked cutter against the leathery membrane, she felt the surface yield slightly. Compelled to new efforts by her fury, she swept against the barrier with her forelimbs, finding that, like her snout, her paws were equipped with sharp edges that tore and ripped at the stubborn impediment. And then that glorious heat was there, radiant against her face, warming her eyes and caressing her nostrils. But that teasing suggestion of life only made the enclosing barrier that much more infuriating. Desperately, frantically, Crematia clawed, pulling the tough fabric out of the way. Widening the gap, finally, her head pushed through, and the wonderful warmth stroked her neck, kissed her shoulders, and with the promise of a full and immediate immersion, with the final push With a final push, driving with her rear limbs and clawing with her forelegs, the serpentine creature wriggled through the gap, leaving a hollow leathery sphere collapsing behind her. Is that a candle? No, it's actually a lamp that has firelight. And I appreciate that. Reading audiobooks, doing audiobooks would be something I would love to do. I still need to get better at dictation, but this is part of that practice, right? Where was I? Hey, what's up, everybody? So we're doing a reading of a book. I'm glad you're all joining me. We'll actually talk about the first chapter after we're done, or the prologue after we're done. Let's see, where were we? Right. We will start right here. Compelled to new efforts by her fury, she swept against the barrier with her forelimbs, finding that, like her snout, her paws were equipped with sharp edges that tore and ripped at the stubborn impediment. And then that glorious heat was there, radiating against her face, warming her eyes and caressing her nostrils. But that teasing suggestion of life only made the enclosed barrier that much more infuriating. Desperately, frantically, Crematia clawed, pulling through the tough fabric out of the way, widening the gap, and finally her head pushed through, and the wonderful warmth stroked her neck, kissed her shoulders with the promise of a full and immediate immersion. With a final push, driving with her rear limbs and clawing with her forelegs, the serpentine creature wriggled through the gap, leaving a hollowy leather sphere collapsing behind her. She blinked, straining to observe and study her surroundings, and to clear away the film of murk that coated her eyes. At the same time, she stretched, feeling a glorious freedom, a lack of constraint that allowed her to extend her supple neck, to twist and lash her tail. The environment was cloaked in shadow, but everywhere Crematia felt magnificent warmth against her scales. Twisting instinctively, curling about, she let the heat wash over her, bringing a trembling vibrancy to her slender reptilian body. Awkwardly, she stretched as her wings, still gummy from the egg, slowly, stickily unfurled. The sensation of space was exhilarating, though almost immediately she sensed a new discomfort, a gnawing ache in her belly. As yet she could see nothing of the shape or color, but she discerned a flaring brightness that she knew intuitively was the source of that wonderful heat. Deeply attracted, she hobbled towards the light, her feet unsteady beneath her, and she slipped, stumbling and jarring her chin painfully against a hard surface. Jabbing with instantaneous fury, she snapped her jaws on the obstacle. The bite was painful, but the expression of rage deeply satisfying. Again, she lunged towards the bright flickering, her vision clearing with every heartbeat. She saw tongues of orange heat rise, waver, disappear, to be replaced immediately by more of the dancing flares. The bright tendrils encircled her, rising in a protective curtain, shimmering and pulsing with relentless infernal energy. A dark shape moved across the curtain of light, bringing another vigorous growl from Crematia's chest, causing her scales to shiver, feeling anew the hollow pain in her gut. She froze, sniffing, staring. She saw a round form, smaller than herself, covered with smooth fur, a pair of bright spots glowing, widened as her sorry. Sorry about that. Reset. A pair of bright spots glowed, widened as her sharp snout jabbed forward. A furry creature shrieked when Crematia's beak-like jaw stabbed through its soft pelt. A wonderfully intoxicating aroma engulfed the huntress, and she sensed the elixir mingled her enemy's pain and its pathetic fear. As the dying form twitched a few times and then lay still, she knew that with a thrill of anticipation, that much of her life would be devoted to the recreation in countless victims of these twin talismans of suffering. Warm wetness flowed across Crematia's nostrils, and she discovered another tool of her body, a tongue. Supple and forked, that could curl from her mouth to lick that wetness. The taste was sweet, so succulent that the serpentine body shivered in anticipation. Jabbing forward again, chewing and tearing, Crematia relished the tender meat and sweet blood of her first kill. There was very little meat in the tiny corpse, but in her hunger she greedily swallowed the small, warm heart, crunched the frail bones, sucked the marrow from each shaking drop of blood. Oh, never mind. The way that it was supposed to be read was this. There was very little meat in the tiny corpse, but in her hunger she greedily swallowed the small, warm heart and crunched the frail bones, sucking the marrow from each. Shaking drops of blood and fur from her jaws, she lifted her head, peering around with increasing sensitivity, ready to kill again. Crematia was vaguely aware of other shapes all around her, serpentine, scaly bodies emerging from the great nest of bones. With talon and fang, they pulled ahead, climbing and crawling over each other, each striving instinctively to move beyond the others. In an atmosphere of seething intensity, hunger seemed to fill the air. Driving the red dragon female with growing urgency, uncertain why, she knew beyond a doubt that as the wormlings explored outward, continuing to move away from the nest, she would have to go first. She saw another huddled, furry shape scuttle past, and her hunger flared anew. Pouncing quickly, she slashed with lightning-fast claws and brought the little four-legged creature to a halt. Each squirming twist of the body, each keen cry brought another shiver of pleasure through her body. Again, there was that intoxicating scent of blood, and she tasted the sweet liquid, relishing the struggles of the creature in her talons. Crematia was vaguely saddened when those struggles grew still, when the little heart ceased to pulse forth its crimson nectar. Once more she ate, this time focused on the tastier morsels, flesh, heart, and brain. She left the bones and entrails behind, knowing there would be more prey to kill. The food was good, warm, and fulfilling. But she wanted, no, she needed more. In a frenzy, she dashed after another of the creatures as the little furball scurried away in panic. Abruptly, a green and scaly shape, similar to Crematia, but a trifle smaller, darted in front of her, reaching talons toward the prey, but the red wormling caught her emerald nestling by the rear foot, twisting the leg, sinking her fangs into the twitching thigh. With a hiss and hateful shriek, the emerald serpent thrashed on the ground. Ignoring the weakling, the crimson killer leapt ahead of her nestmate to bear the bundle of flesh to the ground. And again, she was patient, investigating the wriggling creature, enjoying the sounds of its plaintive, terrified bleats. Crematia quivered in pleasure as she took one of the stubbed... Wait, what? As she took one of the stubby, kicking legs and twisted it off to a new crescendo of wailing. She snapped another leg and tore at the moist flesh with her jaws, holding the still breathing, trembling creature pinned with one of her forepaws. Then, deliberately, she gouged out the bright little eyes, savoring each as the pathetic being wiggled frantically. Only after the struggles had faded, almost to nothing, did the red jaws dart outward and pull chunks of meat from the dying torso, swallowing until she had her fill. The green wormling, still wailing plaintively, crawled on her three good legs, dragging the limbs mangled by Crematia, until she reached the grizzled waste left from the red feasting. The emerald serpent tore into the remains with greedy abandon. The crimson female loped forward on increasingly sturdy legs, circling a great pile of wriggling bodies and leaking colorful shells. Chromatic dragons slithered over each other, while more sticky wormlings emerged in the midst of the massive bones that framed the nest. A low hissing rose from the tangled thatch, and it pleased Crematia to know that she listened to the hunger of many frantic nestmates. Dozens of little forms wriggled from the tangle of bones and webbing, dropping to the ground, trying to shake the muck of their birth away. Serpents of black and green, white and blue, and a few more red crept forth, killing and devouring the furry creatures when they could, snapping at nestmates who dare venture too close. Hey, Woozy, what's up? Slow-witted prey moved with desperate, waddling steps away from the deadly wormlings, but the creatures were unable to escape the vicinity of the nest. With the initial frenzy of starvation past, many of the serpents, like Crematia, discovered the pleasure of torture, of a slow and leisurely kill. The survivors tried to get away, but were trapped by a void of space, a precipice on all sides of the nest. Shrieks and wails echoed, drowning out the dull hissing of emerging wormlings. Sorry, I just needed to rehydrate before I continued. Crematia bold forward, head high, chest out thrust, and everywhere her siblings gave way, forked tongues flickered along the ground before the red dragon's feet. The illumination she had earlier observed now flared anew, rising higher and faster and brighter than ever, and the red wormling, followed by the creeping pack of her fellow nestlings, prowled closer. Her hunger satiated, she sought to satisfy her curiosity. The tongues of fire resolved themselves into individual dancing pillars. Each was huge, rising from a chasm that Crematia perceived as a gulf completely encircled. The lofty pillars that supported the nest. It was the same chasm that trapped the teeming pack of hatchlings' prey, holding the creatures together with their lethal hunters atop the spire. The fires leapt from the bottomless gulf surrounding the nest, soaring higher into the air, and shedding this blistering heat across the newborn dragons. Excuse me. Crematia sensed a white sibling blinking, cowering away from the heat, and a sense of superiority curled in her leathery lips into a sneer. The heat was a welcome embrace to her, and it was strange to contemplate that to this pale, colorless dragon, it seemed to be a discomfort. But now her eyes began to focus on images even beyond those lofty flames. She saw a dark landscape scarred by peak and chasm, stretching into a smoky distance beneath a lightless sky. In places, flares leapt upward from the abyssal crevasse, or streams of liquid fire flowed and spilled and gathered into bubbling hellish lakes. This was a vast expanse, and immediately Crematia wanted to see it all, to fly over it, to claim the entire realm as her own. Where's my water? And for those of you who are just joining us, we are doing a reading of The Dragons, one of my favorite books of all time. This is essentially me getting practice doing this. A form took shape in the near distance, just beyond the circle of fire, and the scarlet serpent felt an awakening of new emotion, awe and fear. A massive serpentine image writhed there, looming ever higher into the air, growing more distinct and omnipresent as vaporous tendrils of flesh came together, solidifying. The writhing pillars separated, twisting into supple sections. As the shape surged higher and closer, the wormlings saw monstrous heads illuminated by fire. 5 great necks rose, each supporting a crocodilian head. The body below these heads was lost in the darkness of the chasm, but even so, the shadowy shape rivaled some of the distant mountains in size. As Crematia perceived that the central, the mightiest of these visages, was a pure red as her own crimson scales. This awareness puffed out her chest with another dose of pride, and she lifted her head arrogantly above the huddled masses of her fellow hatchlings. "Welcome, my wormlings, my children," came the whispered, rasping voice emerging from the scarlet jaws. "It pleases me to see you kill, to learn the rapture of bloodletting, and of terrible lethal might." A green head beside the mighty red lowered, eyes blinking lazily as it regarded an emerald-colored wormling, the newt Crematia had mangled in her pursuit of prey. "Weakness will not be tolerated." The words dripped like venom from the crimson jaws, while the green dragon head licked forward. The tongue hissed a soft sound. Immediately, the crippled wormling uttered a yelp of pain, thrashing through a circle as its jaws snapped, claws swiped at an unseen enemy. Abruptly it froze, trembling, the tiny mouth gaping soundlessly, frothing with bubbles. The little dragon shrieked for a long moment until it vanished in an explosion of showering scales, flesh, and bone. "Mercy is weakness, and weakness is death," hissed the green head. The wedge-shaped image of crimson drifted lower. Leathery lids drooped lazily over the hot embers of twin eyes, yet Crematia sensed that there was nothing sleepy, nothing but keen alertness in the deceptively casual inspection. And I appreciate y'all being here, Hades, and I hope you are enjoying this reading. I do. Because I do enjoy this book. This is one of my favorite books. When the cruel jaws parted again, when more words rasped out, the red wormling tensed as if the mighty being's speech was directed at her alone. "You must never show mercy. Remember this, my wormlings. Mercy is weakness, and weakness is death. Mercy is weakness, and weakness is death." The echoes came in harsh whispers as 100 vibrant wormlings, profoundly moved, repeated the words of their mistress. Again the rumbling lesson, and Crematia shivered to the thrill of learning. It was a teaching she knew she would never forget. "Remember, my children, be strong," hissed the crimson jaws. "For in strength you shall gain mastery, and in mastery you shall come your vengeance." Crematia's mind flared at the thought of vengeance. She knew intuitively it was a goal worth one's whole being, one's very life. "I am your mother, and your queen," continued the soft but forceful voice. "My will is your command. My pleasure gives reason to your lives. And my whim is instant death." Abruptly, the blue head darted towards a pair of white wormlings who twitched restlessly at the fringe of the pack. Mighty jaws gaped, and in an explosion of brightness, a crackling bolt of energy shot from the dragon's mouth, sizzling into the distracted newborns, spattering them into a drifting haze of white scales. You must be ruthless, always. The voice dropped to a soft, almost gentle whisper. But there was no wormling who did not grant the queen full attention. When you go forth into the world, your task will be to find your strongest enemy and kill them. When that foe is slain, you shall again find your strongest enemy and kill him. For every enemy you slay, there will appear another, and that one, in turn, must die. The monstrous head inhaled, a measured drawing of breath that roared like a cyclone. After a long pause, the crimson jaws spoke again. This shall be the course of your lives, my wormlings. Know your foe, find them, and bring about their utter destruction. I will find my enemy and kill him, Kamatia murmured, a sense of destiny growing within her, seething and boiling into instinctive hatred, a fury that would provide passion and purpose to her life. All of the monstrous heads swung back and forth, 5 pairs of fiery eyes glittering with ambition and cruelty. Krematia shivered with joy at the power she beheld there. Once more the red dragon head rose above the others, fixing its penetrating gaze on the wormlings of the same color. Your father was Furion, mightiest of my sons, rumbled the Queen of Darkness. Krematia knew the words were meant for her and her crimson siblings. He was tricked by the cunning of a gold dragon, lured to his death by the one known as Aurora. And though he claimed Aurora's life with his last act, there will come to be children of the metal dragons. Know this, my precious ones. These children, the metal worms of Paladin, are your enemies. Much time will pass before your journey to Kryn, but when you go there, you will do my bidding, seeking and slaying your enemies. Another blast of fire exploded from the gaping jaws, a beautiful inferno raging, cackling in the air, slowly melting away. Remember, growled the queen, mercy is weakness, and weakness is death. And that is the prologue. So, let's talk about this. I do want to talk about this. And I do appreciate those of you that are here, and I really appreciate that you enjoy me doing a reading. Even though I did have some mistakes, this is part of me practicing this kind of content, because this is the kind of content that I do want to get into. And I do hope you enjoy the angle. You know, I actually have a phone stand now, which makes it a lot easier, so I don't have to hold the goddamn phone. And I would love to do audiobooks. I would. Like I said, being a voice actor is something that is a particular dream of mine. It is. So, now, what we read, the prologue, is actually incredibly important, because the prologue sets the stage for exactly what happened. Quit biting your butt. Because this particular book, which actually coincides with the only lore video, the last lore video that I was able to release on my YouTube before I became homeless, which is the Lorenomicon Dragonlance edition, The Age of Starbirth. This particular book, that prologue, takes place right after the end of the Age of Starbirth. And the Age of Starbirth was the beginning, was when all of the gods were gathered by the High God of Order and the High God of Chaos. And they gathered the pantheons of gods for this particular universe, for the world of Kryn. And the pantheons would represent light, darkness, and balance. Takashis, whom is the queen that was actually mentioned in the very beginning here, is the goddess of darkness, the lead of the pantheon of darkness. And then Paladin, who was mentioned, is the lead god of the pantheon of the gods of of light. And what actually ended up happening was during the Age of Starbirth was when the dragons were first born, the chromatic dragons and the first metallic dragons. And there was a war that essentially caused both dragons to go extinct. But before they all died, they created a nest, both the chromatic dragons and the dragons of light. And when they did so, sorry, both the chromatic dragons and the metallic dragons. And when they did so, they left these eggs knowing that they would hatch without them because they would be killed in this war. They knew they would die in this war. And the names that you hear, Furion is the first red mortal dragon that was created in the Dragonlance universe. And Aurora was the first gold dragon created in the Dragonlance universe. And what's very interesting is that the chromatic dragons were the first dragons ever created because they were created in the image of Paladin and Takashis. And they were meant to be both evil and good. They were both meant to be both aspects of light and dark. But it wasn't until Takashis, or Tiamat, which is her other name, actually corrupted them and turned them fully evil that they became something that they weren't. And it was a god of balance who was also the god of craftsmanship known as Raorox, who created statues, metal statues for Paladin in the visage of these dragons because he was so grief-stricken. And in his grief, these dragon statues would be given life and they would become the chromatic dragons. Sadly, none of them would live past the age of what was it called? The age of dreams, which is the next age. Sadly, none of the dragons would live past the age of dreams, which is within the age of dreams that the first great dragon war occurs, and the chromatic dragons and the metallic dragons, the firstborn, are all killed off because they killed each other, leaving only their eggs, which is where this story takes place. Now, I did pretty much just really want to do a reading of the prologue today because my voice is a little bit thrashed because I did a lot of talking today, not because of streaming, but I did a lot of talking with the class that I was doing today for my work, as well as I was getting a lot of stuff done. Is there multiple books in this series? Oh, yes, there is. So the great thing about this particular book series is the way that the stories are told. There is enough information there and enough mystery, and it is kind of self-contained in each one of the books that you don't necessarily need to read all of the books. There's a lot of Dragonlance books. There's over, I believe, 58 different Dragonlance books in their entirety. Now, within the Lost History series, I believe there are 13 books. This one is book 6, but Um, this one is one of my favorites because it is The Dragons. Have you read them all? Sadly, no, I have not. I really wish I had a chance to read them all, but maybe one day in the future we can definitely do that because I would love to. So I'm gonna make sure I move reach. Excuse me. So there is another book other than this one that I really wish that I owned, which is known as the Legend of Huma. The Legend of Huma is actually a book that coincides with this book, and it is my. I don't even want to say that's my second because both of them are on the same level. This book and The Legend of Huma are my two favorite books. This one I was able to get, thankfully, by going to a rare bookstore with my ex friends and my ex girlfriend. Um, at the time, they were still my friend and my girlfriend, but not anymore. Um, anyways, now the next book that I really do want to get is no the other book is known as The Legend of Huma. The Legend of Huma, though, that book is a lot harder to find because it is apparently incredibly rare, and most of the printings of that book are gone, which sucks because I would love to have that as a physical copy to read, not only for myself, but to do like an audiobook style reading of. Dune is my favorite series of all time. Dune is a great series. I love the books of Dune. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the series and movies, although Dune Prophecies is helping a lot with the newer Dune movies. The only thing that really pisses me off about a lot of the Dune movies, the book is known as The Legend of Huma, Huma. Huma is one of my favorite heroes in the histories of Dragonlance. He is the fourth wielder of a Dragonlance, and Dragonlances are relics that are in these particular book series, and that's why it's called Dragonlance. But Dragonlances are actually weapons that were created by Paladin, or otherwise known as Bahamut, um, from his very scales to be weapons that could actually kill gods. And there are four heroes that in total before Huma that wielded them. I believe Huma is the fifth wielder, if not the fourth wielder of the Dragonlance. And there are multiple Dragonlances and multiple people. Generally, though, in the Dragonlance universe, a Dragonlance user is a dragon rider, meaning they have a connection with the dragon that is so strong they actually allow them to ride them. Because more often than not, in the Dragonlance universe, which is like the D&D universe, unless you have a very personal connection, dragons will not let you ride them. They will not let you come near them and treat them like a steed because they are not. They are incredibly intelligent. They are they are essentially the first mortal beings ever created. And the only thing that makes them mortal is the fact that oh god. Yeah, the only thing that makes them mortal is the fact that they can be killed by means that are not just for killing gods. But yeah, no. So, anyways, as I was saying about the Dune series, so the Dune series, I really do love the Dune books. I do, and I'm gonna give the Dune Prophecy series a try, maybe tonight. But my biggest problem with the Dune movies, a lot of Dune movies, other than my favorite Dune for media rendition, which is the Dune miniseries, Atreides is never properly depicted. More often than not, he's only seen in the very beginning just to introduce his son. But Atreides, the father, he is a very, very integral character in the first book. And we learn a lot about him and the reason why his family, his clan, is not only revered across the universe, but they're a threat to the emperor and his power because of how revered they are. Even though they are undoubtedly loyal to the emperor knows that their influence, the Atreides influence, is a problem. But that's never properly shown. That's never properly ever talked about. Which really bothers me because he is a very, very well written character. Not only is he a tactician, not only is he a politician, not only is he a master negotiator, he is kind. He is understanding. There is a reason why the people of the sands actually listen to him. Like that in the movies, they make it seem like such a small feat. But the thing is, them coming to him actually accepting their culture and trying to respect them is leagues different than what the Harkness showed them. What the Harkins showed them, sorry. And it's not shown well enough. It isn't. Like the people of the sand would never, and I mean ever, do that with the Harkins. But with the Atreides, they did. But that also showcases why they're such a threat to the Emperor, because the Emperor could never make that happen. The only person that could was Atreides. Which is why I'm glad they're doing the Dune Prophecy series, because the Dune Prophecy series does showcase Atreides more. From what I can tell, I have to watch it to really be able to get a full determination. But from what I can tell, it does give him more weight in the series, which that is what that character deserves. Not just Atreides, but Duncan as well. The fact that we only see Duncan as what? A old warrior that was there? He was so much more than that. Duncan was the reason why they've won so many wars. He was the warrior. He was the fighter that most soldiers looked up to in the Dune universe. I don't know. I mean, I just talk about it because I really liked it. Dune is one of my favorite series. I do. Right? No, in the books, Duncan is a force to be reckoned with. You do not want to fuck with him. And it didn't just like the way they showed it in the movie, it's like, oh, okay, it was a group of them. No, it was not a group of them. It took an entire army of the Emperor's sword to take him down. And he killed more than half of them before he actually went down and succumbed to his wounds. They, in the books, even after Duncan was killed, both the people of the sand and the Harkins and the Emperor's sword, who came to aid the Harkins, still talk about Duncan and how they fear him, even though he's dead. And do you hear about him once in the movies after he dies? No, you don't. Because Paul's too busy becoming the Muad'Dib. Which, yes, it is an incredibly important part of the story, right? They couldn't let him stay dead. They had to clone him and bring him back. Well, I think did they clone him or did they just regenerate his body? I forgot which one it was. Either way, they had to bring him back because he was everything that they needed as a soldier. And I still, honestly, okay, some people might not agree with me. If you've read the books, you know what I'm talking about. But within the way that the universe in Dune worked, and the way that the spice permeated throughout the universe as the navigators and everything, the only route that I believe it was Paul had was to turn into that giant ass fucking sandworm and take over the universe. That was the only way there would ever be peace after everything that happened. And I thoroughly believe that. It's funny how people don't realize that billions of people have died in the name of Paul. Okay, yes, I do understand that. That it is such a pedestrian name. Who are we fighting for? Well, his name is Paul. Can we just call him the Muad'Dib? Yeah, that sounds better. We're just gonna call him the Muad'Dib. For because a battle charge in the name of Paul. That's not gonna go well. We fight for Paul. No, this is not gonna go well. We fight for the Muad'Dib. Sounds so much better. You know what that sounds like, right? I mean, it's not the same person because if I remember it, because it's not Paul, it's Pete, but it sounds like a Deadpool reference. And I finally watched Deadpool and Wolverine, and I fucking loved it. Like, not only did I absolutely love Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together, like they have the best chemistry. It's so fun. If you have not watched Wolverine and Deadpool, I highly recommend it. It is definitely a movie that needs to be watched by the many. If not just for the sake of it's funny. Hey, hey, quit biting your ass. Deadpool playing with the bones is funny. It was. It was. It was pretty fucking funny. I do agree. Uh, sort of. I did my training, my DPST retraining refresher course for the job. I just finished that tonight. I did my paperwork yesterday. which means that I have just one form that I need to go print out, and I just need to take that form, print it out, sign it up, and hopefully I can just hand it to my supervisor. If not, I gotta find a way to fax it to somebody. Oh, no, no, I took the security classes. I just finished those. One moment. Ow. Well, there goes the light. Ow. No, actually. So, what will I be guarding? You didn't know faxing was still a thing. Yes, faxing is still a thing. People still fax shit. And no, they did not make me pay for the classes. They are paying for the classes. So that's good. But yeah, faxing is still a thing. But yeah, they are paying for the classes, which is nice. I think what kind of email, what kind of security is it? It's unarmed security. Literally, I'm just going to be driving around a apartment. Not apartment. I'm actually going to be driving around the parking lot that I'm sleeping in. Yeah. Think about that. Think about how much gas I'm going to be saving with that shit. Right? It'll be very, very nice for that to be the case. That'll save me a lot of money. You know, I won't have to drive around a lot. $2,000 per class is crazy. Well, luckily it was just a refresher course, and I think that $2,000 per class is going to be for the security course that is armed. Luckily for me, this was an unarmed security course. But yeah, they're paying for, or they paid for the classes, so I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, so classes are paid for, so that's nothing I have to worry about. Um, Everything is done paperwork wise, except for one piece of paperwork that I need to go get, which should be easy. But yeah, with that, I should be in a much, much better place. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go to an urgent care and get my ears cleaned out because fuck, these are driving me nuts. No, it's just I keep hearing a crackle every time I talk, and I think that's just because there's a lot of wax buildup, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Yeah, that is the next struggle that I'm working on. Is figuring out how I'm gonna get a roof over my head, and I'm definitely gonna figure something out with that. And I really appreciate all of y'all for your help with that one. I do, because it means a lot that I have people who give a shit, people who care. And today I treated myself a little bit. I celebrated. After I got my PO box set up, after I got my bank to send me my I am looking for a tiny home, pretty much. That is pretty much what I'm looking for. Or a land that I can build tiny home on. I mean, at this point, I'm looking for a house anywhere. Whatever I can save up, and as soon as I can buy a house, I will go there. I'm not tied to anywhere at this point. You know, the person that I was with no longer cares about me in any way other than as a friend, so I don't need to be around here. The friends that I thought I had showed themselves not to be my friends, in fact. And even so, I don't have any animosity towards them, so I'm not going to, name names or anything like that. As it stands, I know who my friends are, and I'm doing my best to just figure it out. And my friends that actually care about me, they don't care where I go, where I am. They'll still be around. They'll still say, "What's up?" The friend that let me take a shower is an amazing person. I'm thoroughly grateful that they actually let me take a shower at their house. And I really, yeah, no, that his name is I'm not gonna say his full name, but his name is Nick, and he's fucking awesome. Same thing with the friend that helped me get this job, and the friend that he also let me shower at their place before I went to go get the interview, which was very helpful. Apartments are expensive everywhere. One bedroom live can go $100. Yeah, right. Win Nick. He's fucking awesome. The fact that he helped me is something that I truly appreciate. Yes, win Nick. If only he was here. I don't know if he knows that I'm live on YouTube, though. He also might be at work. Because I know he has a job too, but I don't know what he does for work. Aw. Yes, I do. I love mocha. So I do actually have all of those, Loki. Go a little bit more off screen. Gotcha. But I actually have all of those, Loki. There's a GoFundMe. I have a Cash App and a PayPal. All of those are available on my link tree in my bio. I don't expect anybody to do anything with them, but I do appreciate it. Um, I wish I could show y'all Mocha. Actually, I think I can show y'all Mocha, kind of. Because she is in the darkness. But here she is. Just being Mocha, laying down. She loves y'all. And also, let's put it this way, my friend. If I get to that point and I get rich and famous and anything like that, I'm not going to forget anybody, and I'm not going to forget my community. I'm not going to forget the people who have been here and were here in my worst of times and have stuck around to help me get to the best of times. Like I said, when I get out of this situation, when I finally get a roof over my head and I'm able to like write a book about this, I'm gonna write a book about this, and it's gonna mostly be about y'all, about the fact that I had y'all and Mocha and people that did care about me. Well, the fact that you sent a donation, Yang, I'm gonna at least try to send a thank you note because it means the world to me that you even that y'all care enough to try and help out. It does. So thank you. And it means the world. Book. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what the future brings. I have a job. That's part of the plan. That's big. It's a big plan that's going to fucking. That's a big part that is going to help work towards putting more money into that savings. Because, like I said, everything that I get, any donations that I get, all of that is just going to get shoved into a savings, letting it grow until I have enough to actually get a permanent home, so that I can live and Mocha can live, and we won't have to worry about that. Oh yeah, no, like I said, I'm not only thankful for all of y'all. I know for the fact that no matter what, as a content creator, I've never would have made it anywhere if it weren't for y'all. Like, no matter what, no matter where I go, it wouldn't have been there if it weren't for y'all. And there's also people that, even though I feel a little resentful towards them now, I still will make sure that when I get to a certain point, I will still give them the 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 due diligence that they deserve, because I do want to see them succeed too. I don't want to see anybody do anything, even if whatever. I don't want to see anybody do bad. I want to see people do good. But yeah, everyone, I think I am going to lay down for tonight. And tomorrow we're gonna do another stream. We're gonna tomorrow I don't have any DoorDash scheduled. Sadly, I couldn't get any DoorDash scheduled, but we are gonna go together. I'm gonna take y'all to my urgent care treatment because I'm gonna get these ears cleaned out because I have to. They're driving me nuts. But I appreciate y'all for being here. I appreciate y'all for joining me for the reading, and I will see you all tomorrow, my friends. Oh yeah, that Kratos flipping a room, that shit. I will talk about tomorrow. I promise. When do you start work? I probably start work, if not tomorrow, the day after. Either way, I know they're going to contact me soon. Y'all have a good night.